This is a fictional mindbender. Everyone has their favorite Starfleet captain, and usually Picard ranks in the top 3. But as Star Trek has gotten more nuanced and complex with more conflicts and cynicism, a lot of the qualities that made Picard a favorite have come into question, and not to everyone's liking, mind you, either. Picard is beloved because of his idealism in despite of hard circumstances. A diplomat with the heart of a poet and a steely stance of a soldier when needed to be. Someone who will seek out the peaceful alternative against all odds until the last and will do what he needs to do to protect that long peace. Or, as many Star Trek YouTubers call it, the golden age of the Federation. These are all great ideals and great qualities, good things to stand for, and are definitely the preferred option. However, is Picard a good wartime captain? On the surface, this might seem like a simple answer. Yes, of course he is. Picard has seen combat and led fleets during galactic incidents and combat situations that were firefights or almost led to firefights. He can face down a Romulan with just as much guile with the best of them, and is willing to throw hands with Klingons who are probably younger but are naturally stronger and more built to fighting than he is. But I ask this. If this was the case, then why didn't Starfleet trust him to handle the situation with the Cardassian standoff instead of Jellicoe? Needed for a secret mission, you might say? There are other operatives who are younger and more physically suited for that kind of op. And when you throw in captains from other series into the mix, this discrepancy becomes more glaring in universe. Consider, Sisko is the one leading the Alpha Quadrant allies against the Dominion during the Dominion Wars, not Picard. Nor is Picard ever mentioned, despite being the paradigm of the perfect Starfleet officer. Also consider, Kirk, for all his cowboy diplomacy, is still spoken with respect among Klingons decades after his death, and as being quite possibly the preeminent example of the perfect Federation warrior. Why is that? I think it's because he was ready to go to war with them on several occasions. He showed just as much ruthlessness when he had to, such as blowing up his beloved Enterprise just to kill a small Klingon boarding party. He broke the treaty with the Romulans to pursue a Romulan raider into the neutral zone to take it out because it had destroyed several Federation stations and colonies. There's a reason why he was the one selected by the conspirators in Star Trek VI to be the fall guy for the fallout, or presumed fallout I should say, with the Klingon negotiations. Everyone knew he was ready to go at the drop of a hat, so it wouldn't have been hard to see him as a culprit for sabotaging the Klingon negotiations. Going back to my previous video on jerk captains, even Lorca can be made an argument for in this case. Yes, he's a mirror universe person, but he was also more than ready to fight when it became obvious that a fight was going to go down. He whipped the Discovery's crew of scientists and idealists into wartime readiness that led them to several victories, even beyond his traitorous death. He would talk as long as it seemed like it was an option, but at the first sign it wasn't, it was going down. I think that Picard, with all his good points and being the obvious preferred option, lacks many of these qualities. Yes, he's a veteran of battle and has seen his fair share of shit, from Cardassian torture and being mentally violated by the Borg Collective. That's no small thing. But he's not been in a full-time ongoing war. He came to prominence during the golden age of the Federation, and it's been argued even that many of his peers who were likewise were killed during the Dominion War because of that lack of experience and that lack of taking the extra step to do what it takes to win. Don't get me wrong, Picard will throw down, as I mentioned earlier, but he's not ruthless. Every time Picard does have an advantage over his enemies or presumed enemies, he openly reveals that hand, and in most cases, fortunately, it works out for him. Perhaps the only possible exception was when he was considering committing genocide against the Borg with the transmitted virus. But even here, he reneges on the last minute. Now, I'm not saying that that's necessarily bad or just that he shouldn't have done that. I'm just pointing out facts here, considering the question I'm asking. And when he knew that the Cardassians were running illegal supplies while trying to stop the USS Phoenix from attacking their ships, Picard had clear justification to take Maxwell's side and plead his case to his Federation superiors that this was a clear provocation of war. But he doesn't. Instead, again, privately telling the Cardassian advisor that he knew Maxwell was right, but he chose peace over war. But at the same time, Starfleet would be watching them. Consider that in universe, this may have been the reason why Starfleet selected Jellicoe for the later standoff with the Cardassians than Picard, because Jellicoe would have at least made an example of a couple of ships siding with the Phoenix before letting the Cardassians know that the Federation was onto them. I think perhaps the best contrast here is actually done by Strange New Worlds, when, in an alternate timeline where Pike is alive and he's dealing with the cross-border raids by the Romulans instead of Kirk, that Pike lets his ideals blind him to the true nature of the warlike Romulans, who, after he tries to negotiate with them, sees Pike as being weak and that the Federation will be the same, and this will ultimately lead to war between the Romulans and the Federation again. It essentially establishes that Kirk's more aggressive and ruthless tactic of hunting down the Romulans who actually made the attack ended up preventing war with the Empire in the first place. And this is also why I had no real problem with Picard's portrayal in Season 1 of the show Picard, because by that time, the Federation's pretty much learned its lesson, that it's no longer the Golden Age, nor are they similarly naive to the true nature of galactic politics, that not everyone wants peace or shares your values, and that while peace is obviously the better option, you must be ready to press that button against enemies who have made the decision to try and kill you. This is why Picard was referred to as a self-righteous relic of the past by the admirals at that time. Like Pike, he was blinded to the new reality that was at play. And this isn't to say that Picard is a bad captain. I'm not saying that at all. Just that Picard would not make a good wartime captain, in my opinion. But whether you agree or disagree with this, let me know in the comments below. This is Fictional Mindbender. Have a good day.